All right. Well, I think we can go ahead and get things kicked off. Do a quick round of introductions, but I want to welcome everybody to our webinar. Today's session is titled How to Avoid Becoming Part of the Great Resignation. My name is Mark Nelson. I'm a partner and vice president of business development for Independent RX. And we are here with our partners at IPC to discuss this topic a little bit more in depth. As a starting point, I guess one of the good questions is, what exactly is the Great Resignation? From NCPA and LinkedIn, Fox News, and Forbes, it feels like the phrase is everywhere right now. I've heard it called the Great Resignation, the Great Upgrade. Even most recently, I've heard it called the War on Talent. I kind of like that one. And whether your pharmacy has been impacted by this directly or not, it's absolutely undeniable that the last 2 years have changed the landscape of the American workforce in numerous ways. So today we've got a rock star panel of experts to discuss this a little bit more in depth. I'll go ahead and do introductions and then I'll turn it over to them. I have with me Katie Bass. She is the owner of San Joaquin Drug and Yosemite Drug. I have Tim Clark. He's the owner of Clark's Pharmacies as well as a partner at Independent RX. I have Vicki Einhelig. She is the CEO and owner of Good Day Pharmacies. And last but not least, I have Stacy Hall, our Senior Vice President of Marketing at IPC. So with that said, I will go ahead and turn it over to the panelists to elaborate on those introductions. Couple quick housekeeping notes. I am recording today's session, so we'll have this available to everybody within the next 7 days. So if you have to leave early, I understand. We will make sure that we have it up on YouTube as quickly as possible. We are going to do a 30-minute session of Q&A with our panelists. So keep the questions coming into the chat box. I'll be reviewing those as kind of the moderator throughout the course of this event. And the second part today will be answering the questions that have loaded into that chat queue. So if we don't get to your question specifically, we'll be recording answers, calling people back directly with answers, even recording some video snippets for LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and so forth. So thank you very much for being here today, and we look forward to having a great session. So I'll let the panelists take it away.
Hi, I'm Stacy Hall, Senior Vice President of Marketing and Strategy for IPC. I'm really excited to be here today and discuss with you how to avoid the Great Resignation. I have been in the industry for almost 25 years, so I'm very passionate about supporting in what you all do in your industry. So thank you for having me.
Hi, I'm Vicki Einhelig. I'm a pharmacist from Colorado. I own and co-own Good Day Pharmacies. We have 11 locations in Northern Colorado. We also co-own and operate 6 pharmacies that span Colorado, Nebraska, and Wyoming. We, like most independent pharmacists, are involved, have our hands in about everything. Outside of community pharmacy practice, we provide long-term care services. We have a compounding location, and we are part of the CPSN network. And just really happy to be here and be part of this discussion.
Thank you. Katie?
Hi, I'm Katie, and I actually own 2 pharmacies in California, both in rural areas. One is a retail pharmacy I actually took over from my father, and the second one I opened on my own, and it does some compounding. Like Vicki, both of our pharmacies are involved in CPSN, so we have a lot of patient care that's really important to us, kind of expanded services type thing, and we're also really involved in our CPHA local chapter. And I'm super excited to be here. I'm kind of a newer owner, so I have a little bit different perspective than some of these guys on the ownership. And I man both my pharmacies, so I'm there working on the ground with my employees. So I'm excited to offer a little bit different perspective.
Awesome. Tim Clark.
Hello, my name is Tim Clark. I'm a 3rd-generation pharmacist and got in this, I guess, through nepotism or something. I've had 30 pharmacies in my career. I still own a retail store, a compounding pharmacy, and a long-term care pharmacy, and also one of the partners in Independent RX Consulting. where we help people buy a store, start a store, sell a store, and provide back-end services like accounting and bookkeeping. And really excited to talk amongst all of us and give everybody some good advice and how to compete and how to challenge ourselves. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank y'all very much for that. So diving straight into it, Tim, I'm going to kick question number one off to you. I'm going to paraphrase it a little bit and shorten it up to make it a little bit easier to give everybody an opportunity to comment on it if they want to, but really it's broad. What do you see as some of the biggest challenges today for not just independent pharmacy, but small business owners when it comes to employee retention and attracting new talent as well?
Ooh, we get into this idea where my job is boring, all they want from me is more, and I hate this, and like I get the pressure. If your boss can learn how, like for us, and if you're a pharmacist and you're managing, even if it's a pharmacy department at Walgreens or whatever, you have it, like Vicky's saying, you have a team. And even if, let's say, your company doesn't come up with these games to make it fun and work on the things we need to, then what is your culture? Just professional? I mean, professional is very important, but I think we'd all say being professional is how we treat them. We want to treat them like family. We want to have expectations. We want to, have good chemistry amongst our team. All those things that if you have good chemistry and you've got good competency and good character, they all lead to those wins. And, the employees now, if you think about it again, if it's more competitive to get them, right, then it's your job to be also as competitive, think of the way to retain them. I mean, so if you don't do reviews, for instance, you should really do a review so it gives you a chance to say, hey, Bob, hey, Sally, hey, Juan, whatever, you've done a really good job. And it doesn't mean always that you give a review, you have to give them more money, but, communication is the hallmark of being felt like I'm respected as an employee. And, I don't care how many, businesses that you're running, or if it's just your own family, without communicating to how things are and that I appreciate you, like you're not going to get the buy-in, and then they're going to leave. And typically most people leave because they're going to get more money. Usually that's, they're already stuck in leaving if you're a screamer, if, you hit everybody, or you're a zapper, in terms of like, yelling about stuff, or the place is stressful. We all got PPP money for the most part, I would assume, as a group of pharmacists. And one of the things I kind of challenge us as a group is, like, as you're looking at the woe is me that I've got to do these increases, or I've got to create these games, and I've got to create these incentives and do a little bit more work, don't just use that money to become fat and happy. Use that money to go back and invest that into your business, because you got to because of all these things we talked about, which are all pandemic related consequences. So, when you're thinking about what it costs now, yes, it could end up that this year doesn't look as good as last year. Your business is an investment over time. And I still believe if you do the right things, good things will happen to you. It's just a fact.
I like that. So investing in your workforce, and that helps with the retention as well. Katie. All right. So again, you've got a unique perspective on this. So being a little bit newer to it, have you had any of these issues yet that you've had to address? And if so, what was the outcome? I guess is the best way to ask it.
Yeah, so just building kind of off what Tim was saying, listening to that, it kind of resonated with me a lot, building back into your employees and getting the PPP. So we were I'm fortunate enough to get that as well. And a lot of it did go into like making sure my employees were happy and not getting burnt out. I mean, we were doing COVID clinics on the weekend, working after hours. Everybody was pulling extra shifts. And I mean, part of it really helped. They believe in the mission. We believed we were helping people, our community, and all that. But that also meant like, hey, if, they're getting paid overtime and all of that, but also, we did a clinic and I gave everybody an extra $100, and they were so excited just to get that, even though it was little to me, and I can bill for these vaccines, and I was going to make more than that, but just giving it back to my employees, saying, yeah, you're the reason I'm able to do all this stuff. You know, we went to a baseball game and I rented an area for them and let them bring their family. So just all these little things to make them constantly feel valued, and investing in your employees, I think, is so huge, giving them opportunities. Sometimes I'll send my technicians to conferences instead of myself so they can further their career path, if that's something they're interested in. So I think, yeah, that's really important, is investing back in your employees. And I mean, I'm a firm believer in really, you know, company buy-in and the mission and the vision and all of that. It really transforms employees. And we had one technician who, with the kids doing Zoom from school, she got, you know, really scared that she was going to come in and actually quit. And I said, she'd been my tech for like 9 years, but, you know, she had to be home. And I said, no, let's work around this. How about we adjust your hours, that from 12 to 3, you work at home. And I mean, she's a tech, but I could plug in remotely, do some billing, do some things on the back end. And from 3 to 6, you can come in. And we did that for 9 months while she helped her kids get through school. And she was so appreciative. And you know, you get employee buy-in and loyalty from that. And I was able to retain a great employee who I had already invested so much time and money in. So I think just really trying to be flexible and seeing your employees as people, and that they have other needs pulling them through, is really important. I mean, the pandemic brought in all sorts of challenges, but that's not to say that people aren't going to face that another time, you know, in another way, if there's illness in the family or something else that's pulling at them, you know, kind of taking what we've learned from the pandemic and realizing that people are whole people. Or a whole person.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love that, Katie. And just to emphasize the you know, the teams that we have, you look at our technicians and how important they are in the process in serving the customer, and how much capacity they have to maybe be the best at the computer, be the best at technology and the ideas that they have. So they want to be engaged, right? That creates meaning for them. They want to help the pharmacy do well. I mean, that's, you know, we're their employer. So having, you know, sharing information with them. I think as pharmacy owners, we feel like we need to kind of take on all that burden if something's not going well, if we really need something to happen, or we're stressed out for something. I mean, our teams want to help, and they can help. Whoever's closest to maybe the problem or the challenge, you know, they're going to have the best ideas. So I think just really including them in the conversation, sharing information with them, having a good communication between, you know, having that open communication with the team is going to build trust. And again, everyone then is helping each other and working towards that important mission that you've set for your pharmacy. And the flexibility is huge. I mean, that's what we have. I mean, we have that hands down over our competition. And I love hearing, you know, just the creative way that you address the situation that you had. And we've had something similar. Someone has a very specific school schedule. They need to be able to take their kids to school. They can't come in until 9:30, and we just said, let's see your school schedule. We can work around that schedule. If it's somebody that is crucial to that team, you're going to work to keep them as part of that team. So I love that.
And it's also the right thing to do. I mean, like, you know, that person who needed it with their kids, I mean, like right now, that's the right thing to do. We're in like such uncharted economic uncertainty that, you know, you have to have some compassion. I mean, as a pharmacist, I know we all sometimes have too much compassion that messes up our business decisions, but in reality, I mean, it is like, don't listen to your business people tell you that you can't do the right thing. Mm-hmm. The right thing is doing what Vicki, try to create the flexibility. We're going to try. Now, don't get yourself all mad that sometimes you try and you can't make it work. Or let's say you go do this for that employee and they end up quitting 2 months from now. Like, don't get mad at him for doing that, because like we're all, parents, or we've got something that we share with these people that I guess my point is, don't expect to just get it back, just do the right thing.
Yeah.
Like I think we've all complained about, we haven't really talked about this, but economically, one of the things that's impacting our employees is the inflation, which we also didn't have, during this pandemic. Everything was it wasn't like the toilet paper was more expensive, or we couldn't get toilet paper. Like all these basics were, because we're hoarders. We went out, we grabbed all this stuff, and then we had this artificial inflation stuff. But now we have true inflation, where if you look at last year, I think the average raise, and I don't know if it's nationally, I'm going to make this number up, it was like 3 or 4% that people got raises last year. And you can say, as a business owner, I didn't get a 3 or 4% raise from Caremark. I know you didn't. But the reality is, now with inflation at what was it, like 7 or 8% last month? Like, our employees, even though we're paying them more, truly aren't making more money, and they're not getting fat and happy because of what we're doing. They're just surviving. So, I think that's the advantage, or the disadvantage, if you want to say, being a small business owner, is that, you got to do that right stuff for your employees. And I guess my challenge is, don't expect that they're going to come do it back to you. Do it because it's the right thing.
But with that, Tim, I just love what you're all saying about, that's such a powerful message, investing in your employees and really getting to know them and what their needs are, because maybe that employee might not come back to you, but the ones that truly are as passionate about your business as you are, they're going to remain loyal. So I just think that's so powerful what you're all doing. And we find that, in our organization as well, is you're slowly building that loyalty, and it's just going to be a better experience for everybody in your company and the patients that are walking through the door. So that's wonderful.
Yeah. And when you do that, when you create that loyalty, and that spreads. Yes. So, we've had a lot of success recently, just reaching out, our employees reaching out to their friends that work at other pharmacies, and they can say, absolutely, it's so much better. They know both sides. And so having that will just spread and can create that kind of flow of good people coming on your team. So absolutely, Stacy, well said.
Yeah.
So I guess kind of the overall theme here is that flexibility seems to kind of drive the majority of these other solutions, or be one of the things to focus heavily on. One of the topics we had talked about yesterday, I want to make sure we have time for it, was the different types of benefits that we provide for employees, and not necessarily just healthcare, but the gamification, when you're creating incentives and processes that work so that those don't become expectations. And this is up for the whole panel. Is anything that anyone has tried that they feel worked extremely well in that area?
One of the benefits I recently started offering to one of my employees. So one of my pharmacies is in pretty rural. So I actually have to pull from the bigger town. So her commute's about 45 minutes. She's a technician, and gas prices have been insane. So I've actually started giving her like a weekly stipend to help pay for her gas. That way, she isn't motivated to leave or go somewhere else. And I don't know how long gas prices are going to be this high, but it's just a little thing like that. Like, hey, I'm aware of what's happening to you. I'm aware that your, pay hasn't increased, and it, kind of sets a limit. It's nothing I've set myself up to permanently, but, it just kind of lets her know that, hey, I'm watching out for you. I feel like kind of built on this earlier, but as independent pharmacy owners, we can be really in touch with our employees that those big chains can't be. So, being flexible is meeting, we know our employees and what's going to be important to them and what matters to them. For some people, it's family time as a benefit, having an extra built-in day off. I give paid birthdays off. Some employees choose to cash it out or take the day off, and it's just allowing that flexibility, so that's just one small idea.
No, I like that.
Oh, the benefits, are not just like Mark was saying, they're not just the healthcare benefit. And frankly, you know, none of us as small business employers can have great healthcare. I mean, you can offer great healthcare, but it's expensive. That's just the way it is. We don't have that kind of resources. You know, unfortunately we've gone through the belief that we can't work together to get an insurance package to cover, you know, let's say all of the IPC pharmacies or whatever. It's just, you know, we would hate to do something that's good in fear of antitrust, right? But benefits, like one of the things that we haven't made this change yet, but we've looked at is like just making all of our PTO, instead of it being, this is for vacation, this is for, let's say, your birthday, or this is for, you know, the holidays, like say, okay, you got this many hours, use them the way you need to, so that, you know, and instead of like, and I don't know if everybody rolls their hours over or they have to accumulate them. I think just trying to figure out, you know, like, and this is the great thing, you can talk to your staff, like, what do you have any ideas of what we can do different? Because, you know, admit that we can't do this with the, let's say, healthcare insurance, but we can have some flexibility of your job hours. You can have some flexibility of your PTO. You know, do we need to bank more money if you're going to have a baby? What, you know, what is our family leave kind of policy? What's our short-term disability policy? Our life insurance policy? Some of those things are actually rarely cheap to add as a benefit. So, you know, and if you've got multiple stores now, and I think this also becomes difficult, is now, let's say you don't know exactly what's going on in that location, but you've got to make sure that the people who are your managers of people or your HR people understand exactly how you want to handle this. And you have to empower other people. You really need to.
Yeah. All right, so we can officially take questions. We've hit that 30-minute mark. Any thought, this is for the whole group, I'm gonna toss it up. So any thoughts on what you would offer your first technician at a brand new from scratch pharmacy? Who wants to jump on that one?
You know,
Well,
we recently.
Vicki,
Go
you
ahead,
talk
Tim.
first.
Okay. We recently reviewed our compensation for our technicians. And so we have a team that went in, dug in. We've always had a really good, we use Pioneer X. We have a really good training kind of checklist. And we developed a Tech 1, 2, and 3. We also have compounding technicians. But what that helped us do is really identify a range for those different levels of technicians. So not only was it clear to our existing techs, those that we were bringing on board, it also gave a path, which I think Katie was talking about, providing that path to go to that next level. With that, we look at if you have a brand new pharmacy, so I'm assuming maybe not a brand new tech, we would look at their years of experience that they have outside, and they would come in at, and depending on where they landed, so they would come in at either a Tech 1 or a Tech 2, starting for us at that Tech 1 is 16 and Tech 2 is 18, and it goes up from there. So,
awesome. Tim?
I lost my train of thought.
No, that's okay.
Said, I mean, now that's good to have those levels. I mean, it really,
I like that,
guess,
yeah.
I guess my thought was like, if I'm going to open a store from scratch, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to find the best pharmacy technician in that city or near that thing, you know, where I'm opening up my store, to try to see if I can attract somebody who knows the community a little bit differently than I do, to try to like get someone experience. So I'd probably try to look for and ask people around the neighborhood, who do you like at whatever pharmacy? And I'd try to attract them to come work with me, and I'd probably match their pay, and I'd tell them that, you know, again, culturally, you know, if they're coming from a chain, this is what I can do that's different. And I would try to sell them.
Awesome. All right, nice. Are there any advice on hiring pharmacists/techs in remote areas? Some people are finding it hard to fill these positions, even with the incentives. Anybody else experience that?
So, like I said, for some of our techs, I actually hired them as clerks. And then I don't know, different states have different requirements for being a pharmacy technician, but we would pay, in California, you can pay for a program that's pretty short, 6 months, and get them through that. And so maybe not even starting out with a tech, but a clerk that you're kind of moving in that direction. And then if you're paying for the school, you sign the contract that they have to come work for you for so long afterwards. Or in our other rural pharmacy, I actually had to hire from the city. And like I said, she commutes 45 minutes, but I give her a gas stipend or something like that. So I don't know how far you are from your local larger cities. California, that's where I'm at. So both of our pharmacies are in pretty rural areas. So those were kind of the two ways we manage that. As far as pharmacists, it's a little bit harder, but reaching out to schools of pharmacies, and that's kind of what we're currently doing, is reaching out to pharmacy schools before the student has even graduated, to try and get them to come on board and see if they're interested in a position.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
I really like that, Katie. I was just going to interject, we work a lot with the pharmacy schools all across the United States. And that's what I would recommend from my perspective, is reaching out to them. You never know if you're in California and you might have somebody, and I'll pick on Wisconsin because that's where I'm at. You might come across a pharmacy student that wants to make the move. And so that's what I would recommend as well.
I think what Katie said earlier about the whatever, helping the stipend or the gas, with that person driving is something, again, that you might be forced to do now in these rural areas. I can remember, I was talking before about pharmacists getting BMWs or whatever, but it may be, that you let that technician, and I'm glad, I hope no one's going to kick me, but I would say, like, maybe you let them drive the delivery car home, so that it cuts down on the wear and tear of their car. And if they take it after, business hours, yes, there's more wear and tear on the car. I get it, but that's a pretty big perk. Or the pharmacist, maybe you do, pay, I wouldn't lease them the car, but maybe you do, like, give them mileage or something, which the advantage of those are also things that you can write off. So there are some tax advantages of doing those things. But, when you're in a uncertain, you got to be creative. I mean, or ask them, gosh, the best thing is to do is ask them what, would make it not so bad. Now you got a couple ideas in your head, but, ask them. So maybe they just went off every Monday, like, hey, you just went off every Monday and you like your long weekends? Great.
And if they drive a delivery car, that's free advertising too. So that goes into your marketing. So I'm going to keep us on time. Erica just put in a question. This came up multiple times at the multi-location conference a couple weeks ago. So I'm curious to see what y'all's take is on this. How do you discipline a staff member when you can't afford to lose them? And how do you motivate unmotivated employees? So again, that was a buzz topic, because I can't even get technicians. And then the one I have is doing so-and-so, or the pharmacist doing so-and-so. What do I do? Because I can't let them go. So I don't know. Again, free for all with the group.
I'll stab at that one. So how do you motivate an unmotivated employee? I think that's very difficult to motivate other people. I think what you can do is set expectations. And, whether you're using some of the gamification that we talked about, but having there be a clear expectation might be what that person needs to be motivated. So I don't know if that's even something that would apply there. I think it's hard to motivate other people, honestly. I think you need to give them expectations and give them the path to be successful. Recognize, like Tim said, recognize the success, appreciation, words of appreciation, praising in public goes so far. It's such a little thing that we can do. So that I'll take the second part of that. And then how do you discipline a staff member when you can't afford to lose them? You just got to do it. You just got to do it. It's whether or not they may not know that there's an issue, or it may be so blatant and they've gotten away with it for so long. It's so damaging, not only to, just with that one person, but the whole team, because it just sets the tone. So you just need to be honest, and you need to call out the actual facts, not making it personal. But if it's something that, use if you can, the patients and how it's impacting the patients. So it's a fact that you're observing. So it's not something that is emotional or personal, a personal attack. So those are my 2 cents on that.
And on that whole discipline thing, as you were talking, it made me think about what are other awkward situations that we have to discipline people. Like maybe again, you've got a tech who is also a family friend or a cousin or your babysitter. We get ourselves, because we like these people, we spend so much time that they kind of got us. But if they do something wrong that we've got to discipline them, the only thing I can think of is how we have to discipline our children. I mean, we still have to tell them this is what you did wrong and I don't want you to do it again. It doesn't mean that now my kid has to live at grandma's for the next 2 months. I mean, it's, obviously somebody does something dramatically dangerous, disastrous, that affects, the health of you, your fellow employees, your business. You just have to eat it and get rid of them. And when somebody does those things, and this is with any discipline, you have to, confront it. And at the same time, you have to make sure those other employees who maybe have seen it happen, that they know, hey, this is not acceptable. This is what we want you to do. And whether you can, like, you don't want to lose your standing as somebody that they trust as a boss. Like, as soon as they don't trust you to make good decisions, they're going to just start second guessing you. And it's kind of like the same thing again about being a parent. If you act like you don't know what you're doing, your kids are going to take over the prison. I mean, it's just kind of that way at your job or your pharmacy, that you just have to, maybe now you would have normally fired that person because of that offense, and now you're not going to, because let's say it's their third tardy or whatever. I can't tell you what the rules to make, but there's ways to think about it, which think about as they're a relative of a person. I'm trying to keep them, because that's true.
I think setting clear expectations and referring back to your policy really helps too. Here's the policy. This is what we expect from you. If we see it again, here's your first offense, here's your warning, kind of making sure you have that really in place. And that way everybody knows what's expected of them and they can perform at that level. It's just part of being an owner, part of being a boss. It's the worst part of being a boss, because we're compassionate people. We hate doing that. It's not fun to discipline employees or even, let go of them if they can't respect the rules of the company. But it's much worse to have a toxic environment, to have, those employees that are good will start to fall off or may want to leave if they're unhappy. It just builds a culture of toxicity. And like Vicky said, you just have to do it.
I'll add one more thing. One of our leaders in our company uses a feedback model. So the benefit or the outcome of feedback is to change future behavior. There's nothing you're going to do about going back in time, right? But what you want is the behavior to not continue. So or maybe you want the behavior to continue. So it can work both ways. So having the feedback, sharing the situation, asking for it, asking the employee, can you do this differently next time? Or this is my expectation for it, to how it's going to be done. Can you do that? And then that's what you're doing. You're trying to change future behavior. There's stuff that happened in the past that is bringing you to that conversation, but it's all moving forward. And that can work on the positive or negative side. There's a really great podcast. It's called Manager Tool Basics. It's so good. It's like these 2 guys. I know they're like PhDs, but I swear they sound like they're just these, guys from Chicago having a conversation. They have a lot of really good tools for that. That came from them. So it's a good resource, and podcasts are kind of a cool thing to listen to in your car. So I would encourage. I'll put it in the chat so you guys can access that.
I can send it out to everybody with the video notes afterwards. But I have experience on this one, just to confirm what you've all said, is addressing it is key. I had an employee who at one point was fantastic. That's probably an understatement. And that changed into a unmotivated, slightly toxic type overall demeanor. And we let it slide. So I know I didn't handle it right initially, and I let it slide too long. And I had a new class of hires come in. And I had one of the new guys came up to me and said, I really appreciate everything y'all have done, but is there any way I could not go on trips with so-and-so? Because I really am excited about this. And they just make me second guess if I should even work here. And then my decision was made for me. That was a adios type situation, but I should have done that early, because I don't know how long that spread prior. So I agree with the experts on that one. For what it's worth, just address it immediately. All right, we have time for a couple more questions. What about, how do we find exceptional team members? I think, Vicki, you mentioned earlier that, you know, people through your current employees, word of mouth seems to work. We've seen that too in our business, but anybody want to take a stab at that? What do you do to go out and find exceptional team members?
Similar to Vicki, we use a lot of word of mouth. Currently, one tech I've had for 20 years, her daughter just started working for us when she turned 18. So kind of keeping it in the family. And then we've also relied on the schools too. I've, gotten even pharmacy technician schools, reached out to them about any outstanding students they had that were graduating, offering them a job, and the local high school too. One of the students that works for us in the afternoon was valedictorian of our school. So kind of just going out to community area schools, things like that.
Yeah, and I'll add to certainly the word of mouth. We definitely internally share when we're looking for a position. We do have a referral bonus that's gone from 250 to 500, depending on how important or how many people that were down. We were, I think for a while there, technicians, we were looking for maybe like 4 or 5 technicians. So it was just such a really tough time. We took a look at our Indeed. We use Indeed. We took a look at that ad and made sure that it was representative and exciting. Like just the first part of the ad, is it capturing attention? Is it really going to pull somebody's attention and have it be different from where they are? So those are the a couple strategies. And again, we really try to use our teams and their connections that they have. Of course, post things on the website. We'll put things on, post things in the store. We've even put we're hiring on our delivery vehicles for drivers. So just goes back to being creative, and independent pharmacists are a creative bunch. So I think anything's fair game there.
Yeah, we use.
Sorry,
just really quickly, we used Facebook and Indeed as well. And then also your state organizations. I know I advertise through CPHA and stuff. You can pay for them and it gets directly to your target audience.
Awesome.
Yeah, if you post you help wanted thing, let's say on your Facebook page, and then you get your employees to be a part of your Facebook pages and share that to all their friends, then we can really get to what has traditionally been the best hires for us, is somebody knows somebody. Like there's a different thing, like through your friends and family or whatever, like somebody who knows somebody has a different, I don't know if it's an appreciation or they have a different vibe, but I find that just as important it is to have like somebody refer and get an incentive that way, you could do the same thing of, hey, I'm going to give you, maybe it's not $250, maybe you give them $25 if they share your help wanted thing on Facebook. Again, be creative and talk to your staff. Church, sometimes church is a great place to get people. Sometimes it's the worst place to get people, but I'll let you decide.
Mhm. Well, and also, don't be afraid to, I'll interject my opinion here, to brag about the awesome environments that you guys have created on these social networks. And as you're advertising in Indeed or LinkedIn or Facebook or anything of that nature, because I mean, that it keeps going back to, that's what everybody's looking for, is that special. I want to feel special in what I do every day. And so brag a little bit about what you do and what you offer and how much everybody loves being a part of that community.
Yeah, I like that. I know that many of y'all are probably familiar with Amina, and with what she's done with Avant is pretty awesome. Like it makes it look a lot of fun, and I'm just reading it on LinkedIn and seeing it on Facebook and so forth. But it looks like they're having a lot of fun while working and being successful. So I think that's definitely a good idea. Show who, it gives it kind of an insight to who you are behind the scenes to some degree. So I like that one as well. We have time for one more question. Let me go ahead. A couple of the questions that came in directly to host are ones that will take us down a rabbit hole that I will call you back afterwards on. I'm going to go ahead and grab one from our group, or if anybody has anything specifically that they want to bring up that we haven't said. Tim, you look like you want to say something. But one of the questions that did come in is like, do you find that your leaders or your key employees have similar characteristics? Which is kind of a loaded question, but are there any traits that you would say are predominant in your leaders? I was trying to reword that one from a paragraph. Sorry.
Say they want to be challenged. They want the expectations set for them. They want to have performance-based recognition, whether that's financial recognition or otherwise, celebrating. They're curious. They dig into processes that maybe have been around for a long time, and they share a better way to do it, which is what you want, obviously. Kind of going back to that, make sure you're listening to everybody on your team, because the people that probably aren't saying anything, they might have the best idea. So I think just they want expectations. They want to be rewarded based on their performance. And they're curious, and they have, they're okay to mix it up. They're okay to come in and like change things and make things better. And, short of it being a really, obviously bad idea, it's like giving them some of that, letting go of the reins and sharing some of that, and creating more leaders, I think is just really important, and how you continue to grow.
And that brings up a good point. Now, are these inherent characteristics, or can you create them in employees? Is it something that's contagious, like the negativity can be toxic? Or have any of you been successful in saying, hey, this person does an amazing job at this, and I'm going to use them to help bring this person to that level?
I think if you provide opportunities for people to lead, it might be in different directions, but if you find areas that they're passionate about, and you give them the opportunity, like Vicky said, letting the reins go and saying, hey, I kind of want to start this type of program, and you find your employee that's passionate about that and let them do that, don't micromanage them and see what they come up with, then you're kind of creating an environment to allow them to lead. I think setting it up so it's like, this is the type of leader, the only way to lead, is kind of already setting it up to fail in a way, because obviously not everybody's going to fit that prototype.
I think if you kind of watch how like Mark has interacted with us, like on this webinar, like that's, I think, he's moderating, let's say, the development of something new. Like in your organization, it doesn't have to be that we come up with all these ideas. You can monitor, and if you're not a good moderator, maybe somebody in your staff is, but being able to facilitate questions and dialogue is what really gets us to like some really good ideas. I mean, really good brainstorming, and also creating, an expectation that, in our company, everybody can have an idea that can get put into motion. I mean, that's the advantage of being a pharmacy. Even a pharmacy department can find a way to be really excellent through that. So I don't know.
That was great. All right, so give everybody 15 seconds. Anybody has anything they want to close off with, and not to put you on the spot, because I promise I can edit this out of the video afterwards. But does anybody have anything they want to throw out? Closing words of wisdom? All right, I'll scratch. I'll edit that, so don't worry about it. All right, so we are going to go ahead and wrap today's session to keep it on time as promised. I appreciate everybody who took the time to both to the panel, first of all, and to all the attendees watching. We are recording this, so give me about a week or so and I'll have it all fancied up and available for viewing online.